Some connections happen so naturally and intensely that it's hard to believe they're mere coincidence. Sometimes when we meet someone, we feel there's something special about them, as if everything around us is aligning to make that encounter possible. When the universe intends for two people to be together, certain signs start to appear. They aren't always obvious, but they are real. Unexpected meetings, conversations that touch us deeply, paths that cross at just the right moment. This video invites us to reflect on these encounters that seem to be guided by something greater. Drawing on the ideas of Carl Jung, we'll explore how the unconscious, archetypes, and the movements of the soul bring us closer to people with whom we share a genuine bond. If you believe that some encounters have a purpose, comment below. I am open to the universe's signs. For Carl Jung, nothing we experience is entirely by chance. The most significant relationships, especially those that seem destined, are often connected to deep dynamics within our unconscious. Jung believed that the collective unconscious, a sort of universal memory shared by all of us, can strongly influence the choices we make and the encounters we have. When we feel that the universe wants us to be with someone, we are actually sensing a harmony between what happens outside and what exists within us. This kind of connection is usually linked to the process of individuation, the path of self-discovery, and the integration of all parts of who we are. Along this journey, we project aspects of ourselves onto the other person, what Jung called projection. In many relationships, we are not just getting to know the other person, we are also seeing ourselves through them. The shadow, representing everything we hide from ourselves, also appears in deep bonds. Sometimes meeting someone stirs intense emotions precisely because it touches on wounds or potentials that haven't yet been integrated. Additionally, Jung spoke about the animus and anima, the masculine and feminine aspects within every person. When the universe seems to unite us with someone, it is often because that person activates a forgotten part of us, opening a path to healing or a new possibility of being. Thus, destiny can be understood as an inner calling, reflected in external encounters. The universe does collaborate, but it moves according to the journey of the soul. When two people meet unexpectedly, under seemingly unlikely circumstances, there is often a sense that the universe is trying to tell us something. Carl Jung referred to this phenomenon as synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence between events that are not directly causally related, but are connected by a deeper sense. When applied to relationships, synchronicity helps us realize that something greater is guiding these encounters, something that goes beyond logic and rational explanations. Imagine thinking intently about someone, only to receive a message from them shortly afterward, or consider two people from different cities meeting in a distant place, as if their paths were meant to cross there. For Jung, these events aren't just chance. They are manifestations of the collective unconscious communicating with our external reality. These occurrences invite us to pay closer attention to what is being revealed. In relationships, synchronicity often appears at key moments, at the first meeting, in unexpected reconnections, or in situations where everything seems to align to bring people closer. These signs don't guarantee that everything will be easy, but they indicate that there is something significant to experience with that person. Life puts in front of us what we need to face, learn, or integrate. And often, this comes in the form of a relationship that begins with a clear sign, a symbolic nudge from the universe. Synchronicity also acts as a mirror to our inner world. When we are searching for something, even unconsciously, the universe responds. But it doesn't respond with words. It responds through encounters, symbols, and coincidences. A book that appears at just the right moment, a song that perfectly captures what you're feeling, or a seemingly mundane conversation that offers an answer you didn't even know you were looking for. All these can be interpreted as the symbolic language of the unconscious. When the universe wants us to be with someone, it starts weaving an invisible web of signs. But you need sensitivity to notice them, because these signals don't come with neon signs. They come in the quiet of a significant meeting, in the ease of a spontaneous exchange, in the repetition of symbols that become impossible to ignore. Sometimes, the coincidences are so frequent that it becomes harder to ignore them than to accept them. However, it is important to understand that synchronicity does not replace conscious choice. It may open the door, but it's up to each person to walk through it. Even if the signs point to a special encounter, The relationship needs to be built with responsibility, maturity, and presence. Destiny may bring two paths together, but walking that path together depends on awareness and commitment. Jung saw synchronicity as a principle that connects our inner world with the outer world, giving meaning to events that might initially seem random. Paying attention to these signs is not superstition. It's a form of deep listening, a dialogue with life's mystery. And when it comes to love, being open to this kind of listening can reveal much more than what meets the eye. When something inside you aligns with the flow of life, what once seemed unlikely becomes possible. And if the universe truly wants two people to be together, it ensures that the right encounters occur at the right moments. It's up to each of us to recognize these signs and decide with our hearts and souls whether we're ready to follow that path. When we fall in love or feel deeply attracted to someone, we don't always see the person as they truly are. Often, what we see in the other is a part of ourselves, a quality we admire, a desire we haven't acknowledged, or even an unhealed wound. This phenomenon is known in Jungian psychology as projection. Jung believed that we project onto others what is still unconscious within us, both light and shadow, both what we idealize and what we reject. In the context of relationships, projection can be charming at first. We believe that the other person embodies everything we've ever sought: sensitivity, strength, freedom, protectiveness, mystery. But over time, we begin to see that this image does not match reality. This doesn't mean that the love isn't genuine, but rather that we are being called to see beyond the fantasy, to realize that this idealization was partly a reflection of our own inner world. This dynamic is common in encounters that seem guided by the universe. There is such an intense symbolic force in these bonds that it's easy to confuse the real person with the image we create of them. Jung said that every projection is an opportunity for growth, as it clearly shows us what we still need to integrate within ourselves. The other becomes a mirror, not only of our dreams, but also of our fears, insecurities, and undeveloped aspects of our personality. When we meet someone who activates deep parts of our being, it is common for intense feelings to arise. Sometimes the enchantment is accompanied by pain because the other person touches on old wounds or stirs internal conflicts. The truth is that many relationships serve as spaces for healing, and for that to happen, we need to be willing to honestly examine what is being projected. What is it about this person that enchants me so much? What deeply bothers me? What does this relationship awaken in me that I usually don't feel in other situations? These questions help bring awareness to the process. Over time, we begin to realize that not everything we see in the other truly belongs to them. Much of it is our own projection. Anger, jealousy, admiration, dependency, the fear of loss, the sense of completeness. All these are clues to what is still being processed within us. And the more aware we are, the more freedom we gain to build an authentic relationship without masks or idealizations. There is also what Jung called complexes, emotional cores formed from significant experiences, especially in childhood. Many of our relationships activate these complexes. For example, a person might be drawn to someone who unconsciously represents a parental figure. This explains why certain relationships tend to repeat old patterns, even when we try to do things differently. But it isn't about avoiding projections. They are inevitable, especially in love. The key is to recognize them and use them as tools for self-knowledge. When we manage to see the other as they truly are, without imposing our internal expectations or frustrations onto them, we create space for a genuine encounter where two whole beings relate, not just two idealized images. This process requires courage, but it also brings profound liberation. We stop expecting the other to save, complete, or heal us, and we take responsibility for our own journey. Love then stops being a search for something missing and becomes an expression of what already overflows within us. So when the universe brings someone into our lives and we feel that there's something special about them, it's important to observe what this relationship awakens within us. Perhaps it's showing us something we need to see. Maybe it's a clear mirror, revealing both the beauty and the shadows we have yet to acknowledge. And in that process, we have the chance to grow, to heal, and to become more whole, both with the other and on our own. When we talk about encounters that seem destined, we often imagine something light, beautiful, almost magical. But the truth is, the most profound, transformative relationships are not always easy. They confront us, challenge us, and often force us to face parts of ourselves that we'd rather keep hidden. These parts are what Jung called the shadow, everything we deny, repress, or simply fail to see in ourselves. The shadow isn't just made up of negative traits like anger, jealousy, or pride. It can also contain forgotten potentials, undeveloped talents, repressed desires. When someone enters our life so intensely, as if brought by destiny, it is very common for that person to activate our shadow, and this can manifest both as enchantment and conflict. Destined relationships are not necessarily meant to complete us, but to reveal us. They act as a mirror that illuminates what is hidden in our unconscious. That's why, in many cases, the stronger the bond, the more intense the emotional reaction. Insecurities, the fear of abandonment, control, and the need for approval often arise. The other becomes the stage on which the internal battle between who we are and who we have yet to discover unfolds. This dynamic is deeply uncomfortable, yet incredibly fertile. The presence of the shadow in romantic encounters can be painful, but it is also a major opportunity for growth. Jung asserted that no one becomes enlightened by merely imagining figures of light. Rather, one becomes enlightened by making the inner darkness conscious. And relationships are among the most powerful contexts for that process. When the universe brings someone into our life in a significant way, that encounter can serve as a catalyst. The person who appears may bring to the surface parts of us that were dormant, including both our most beautiful qualities and what we have long avoided facing. A call emerges to look inward, understand our triggers, recognize our patterns, and embrace our shadow. By doing so, we become more whole, and thus more capable of truly loving. It's important to remember that we're not talking about toxic or destructive relationships. The presence of the shadow doesn't justify abuse or prolonged suffering. What this means is that even in healthy relationships, discomfort can arise as part of the transformation process. Often, the most challenging relationships are those that push us toward deeper self-awareness. Many couples with intense stories recount moments when they nearly gave up, when they were confronted with old pains or reactions they didn't understand. In those moments, becoming aware of the shadow can make all the difference. Instead of projecting blame onto the other or running from the relationship, one can ask, what is this showing me about myself? That simple shift in perspective can turn conflict into an opportunity for healing. Jung also said that integrating the shadow is essential for individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are. And nothing accelerates that process like a relationship that challenges us to grow. That's why destined encounters are not necessarily the easiest. They are often the truest. Recognizing the shadow does not mean living in conflict, but rather becoming more aware and free. The more we know our hidden parts, the less we depend on others to fill voids or validate our identity. And thus we can build more mature bonds, where love is a conscious choice rather than disguised neediness. When the universe brings someone into our life who awakens both light and shadow, it is a sign that a deep call for transformation is at work. It's an invitation to set aside the illusion of perfect love and dive into real love, one that welcomes, reveals, and transforms. Carl Jung saw relationships not merely as a bond between two people, but as a powerful pathway for the development of the soul. For him, the deepest connections are opportunities to advance in the individuation process, becoming who we really are, not by repeating patterns, but by integrating all the parts of our inner totality. And the most significant relationships, those that the universe seems to place in our path, often play that transformative role. Being with someone, especially in an intense emotional bond, is like walking with a mirror beside you. The other person clearly shows us who we are, where our lights and shadows lie, and where we still need to grow. Instead of looking to the other for a solution to our voids, we are invited to look within and take responsibility for our own process. It isn't easy, but it is profoundly liberating. Individuation involves recognizing, embracing, and integrating the opposites within us: reason and emotion, strength and fragility, action and receptivity, masculine and feminine. It is precisely in relationships that these aspects manifest with the greatest intensity. When we are with someone who both challenges and accepts us, who reflects us back and also confronts us, we have the chance to integrate polarities that we might never notice on our own. Jung also spoke about the importance of integrating the animus and the anima, the masculine and feminine aspects present in all people. According to him, men internally carry the image of the woman, anima, and women carry the image of the man, animus, both formed from personal, cultural, and unconscious experiences. In relationships, we often project these images onto our partner, which can create enchantment, frustration, or confusion. But when we recognize that these qualities also reside within us, we take a fundamental step in the individuation process. Relationships are not just emotional or affective experiences. They are symbolic processes, rituals of transformation. What the other awakens in us, love, fear, the desire to escape, the wish to stay, are all expressions of internal parts coming to light. The more aware we are of this, the more we can transform the relationship into a journey of self-discovery. That's why many encounters considered destined provoke such profound changes. They aren't there just to provide company or pleasure, but to confront us with the essential questions of our soul. These are bonds that shake us out of autopilot, break down our defenses, and lead us to revisit old pains while also discovering forgotten strengths. On the path of individuation, it isn't about eliminating conflicts, but about learning from them. Every disagreement can reveal a part of ourselves that is not yet integrated. Every loving gesture can express our capacity to welcome, care, and commit with maturity. And over time, what began as mere desire or enchantment transforms into conscious presence. Integration also happens when we stop expecting the other to complete us and start seeing them as a companion on our journey, someone who walks beside us but also has their own path, challenges, and pace. At that point, love stops being fusion and becomes communion, two distinct individuals meeting without losing themselves. The universe, by uniting us with someone so profoundly, offers us more than just a relationship. It offers us a mirror of the soul. And in front of that mirror, we have the choice to deny what we see or to accept the invitation to transform. It is this movement of looking inward, growing together, and integrating what was once separate that turns a relationship into a true path of individuation. Thus, more than seeking the ideal love, we can learn to recognize the symbolic value of each encounter. When a relationship becomes a bridge between who we are and who we can become, it stops being just destiny and becomes a deep fulfillment of the soul. And along that path, the universe continues to speak, through the other, through ourselves, and through everything that can only be understood with an awakened heart and an open soul. Not every encounter is by chance. Some come like gentle breezes, others like storms. But every encounter that leaves a deep mark on the soul carries a meaning that goes beyond the surface. When the universe wants two people to be together, it acts through symbols, synchronicities, and challenges, all to awaken in each of us what still needs to be revealed, healed, and integrated. Jung's psychology shows us that true love isn't made up solely of affinities but also of mirrors. It reveals who we are, where our shadows lie, and how far we can grow. Each relationship becomes an invitation to individuation, to discover ourselves through the other. If you feel that some encounters were guided by something greater, don't ignore that intuition. Perhaps it's time to look at these bonds more deeply, recognizing not only affection, but also purpose in them. Your transformation begins with the first step, and perhaps that step is right here, right now.